Bo is putting on a show and has secured the dough. That's right. Bo Horvat is not looking back towards the Vancouver Canucks as he secures the bag and seriously impresses in his first couple of games as a New York Islander. Let's make some money, everybody.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I am your host, Steele Roden, flying solo for Wednesday's episode. We got only 2 games on the schedule for tonight, so we're going to do some DFS, which we haven't done in a while. Daily fantasy hockey over here, looking at 2 matchups. We're going to get to that, of course, lay down our 3 picks of the night with the lock of the night, which we have been hitting of recently. And we're going to get to Bo Horvat as he's played his first few couple of games with the New York Islanders after the NHL All-Star break. But I got to let everyone out there know that this episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. This year, the only app that you need at your Super Bowl party is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're new to FanDuel, that's fantastic. They have so many great features that make sports betting fun and easy to do. Download FanDuel now, and you can bet on Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. You'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't hit. And FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to the point spread and who will score a touchdown. Flip and I got a little side bet going on. I've got the Eagles to take the win in Super Bowl 57. He's looking at the Chiefs and Patty Mahomes to secure another championship. And FanDuel Sportsbook app is safe, secure, and super easy to use. So far, my favorite perk about FanDuel is right when you open the app, you can look and you're able to see the most popular same-game parlays that hundreds of people have bet on. That's one of my favorite options right there. So join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/lockedon to claim your no-sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook of the NFL. Like I said, we are going to kick this episode off with Bo Horvat and the New York Islanders signs an 8-year, $8.5 million contract. Obviously, I think everyone at this point has seen what Lou Lamoriello has said about the contract and its length, that it's too long and it's for too much money. One of the funniest quotes that I've seen a general manager, speak publicly in the longest time. Very, very, very funny from Lou and the New York Islanders front office. But nonetheless, they've signed him 8 years, $8.5 million. He secures the bag, and he has played 2 games now for the New York Islanders after the NHL All-Star weekend and the All-Star competition, which he was at wearing an Islander jersey. And I have to admit, he has been very impressive so far. In the 2 games, he has 1 goal, 6 shots, 4 hits, 2 blocks, and the Islanders have won both those games as well. The Islanders are on a 3-game win streak, entering after the All-Star break, which is great news for them as they battle for a playoff spot, a very tough Metropolitan division, battling it out with, the Penguins, a couple of other teams fighting, the Sabres, the Panthers now looking really good. Look, battling with those teams for a wild card spot, and Bo Horvat has looked really great so far as a New York Islander. He's on the top line with Josh Bailey and Matt Barzal. Barzal also has 2 points in his last 2 games, but the chemistry right off the bat, the power play, still not there. Obviously, it's a small sample size, 2 games, since being acquired, but power play looks a little bit better. The top line got some great chemistry. Barzal, Bailey, and Horvat right now, the number 12, 13, and 14 on the team, showing some real chemistry that's brewing on the top line for the Islanders. And I got to say this, I think a lot of people out there may have jumped the gun on Bo Horvat's fantasy value kind of tanking. Or not tanking, but going down a little bit from what we've seen with him in the Vancouver Canucks. But I think people a little bit jumped the gun on that situation. Like I have mentioned a few times since the trade has come out, I think Horvat's fantasy value is going to remain the same or even increase, that he's playing with a little bit of a better team. Obviously, the Canucks score a ton of goals as well. That's one of the few issues that the Islanders have. but that's why he's joined the team, and that's why the Islanders go out and get him, is because he's scoring goals and he's facilitating his teammates as well. Again, small sample size. I don't want to jump the gun myself because, again, this is the first time the Islanders have scored more than 2 goals in a game in, I believe, their last 14 matchups. So I don't want to jump the gun here either. There's still a lot more of room to improve for this Islanders team offensively, but it's a great start so far. They win 2-1. They take a 4-0 win last night. A good shutout against, a good shutout for Ilya Sorokin. And Bo Horvat looks really good in an Islanders jersey right now. And again, that top line is it's just getting warmed up. It's just getting started, but the chemistry right off the bat looks very, very good. And I really look forward to seeing what Horvat and this team can do towards the end of the regular season as they fight for a playoff chance and a deep playoff run. Hopefully Horvat continues, but he's been very impressive so far. Like I mentioned, we're going to talk some DFS, daily fantasy hockey, on today's episode. We haven't done this for a while. We do look for nights where there's not as many games, so it's a little bit easier to focus on those matchups. When there's a lot more games to talk about, we tend to stick to the big-time bets where the money is made, which we will get to at the end of the episode. But like I said, 2 games on the schedule for Wednesday night. We're looking at the New York Rangers taking on the Vancouver Canucks, as well as the Dallas Stars taking on the Minnesota Wild. I've looked at this very, very closely. I think you can target players from each team, but if you're looking for a few different options, I'll start off with the Rangers-Canucks game because I think there's going to be a ton of goals scored in that matchup, as well as a ton of value you can find up and down the lineup, but more up so than down. Start off with a guy who is red hot right now. Flip and I have been talking about him the last couple of weeks. Philip Hedl is just on another level right now. Probably the only kid on the kid line that's really producing offensively and showcasing his skill set, like Alexis Lafreniere and Kakko just aren't doing right now. And yeah, the stats for Philip Hedl right now just prove it. 6 goals in his last 4 games, 10 points overall in his last 9 games. He's scoring at will right now. The puck's just finding the twine. It's getting in the back of the net every time he practically shoots. And he's doing this only playing an average of 15 minutes. He has 31 points in 42 games on the season compared to his line mates who don't even have over 25 points in 50 games on the season. So that's just showcasing what he's done, even with some of the injuries he's dealt with. Philip Hedl is a great choice, and you get him at a great price of $5,000. Mika Zibanejad, Chris Kreider, and Artemi Panarin. Zibanejad, 7,100. We know what this guy can do. He can be a little bit streaky, but just like we saw the other night, he goes out for 2 goals, 3-point night, which he's done twice in his past 4 games. 7,100 for Mika Zibanejad. Just adding a little icing on the cake here. Chris Kreider, 6,300, has points in back-to-back games. He adds a ton of power play value. And again, if you're rocking with the New York Rangers in a high-scoring game against the Vancouver Canucks, you can see Chris Kreider getting a few breakaways, maybe even a shorthanded chance, adds a ton of value when he jumps on the power play. And Artemi Panarin plays with Zibanejad on the top line. He's at 6,000 right now. Great price for Artemi Panarin. Just like Zibanejad can get a little streaky, but he finds his teammates. He gets the assists. He gets the apples going. And yeah, just like the Canucks have gone over the number in 12 of the last 14 games. So we know it's going to be high scoring. We know the Rangers are going to get time and time again chances on the power play, even shorthanded. Throw Jacob Trouba, who fills out those peripheral stats on the blue line. And over to the Vancouver Canucks, I think there's 2 options you can get. You're not going to get some high-value, skilled player guys because you've already spent a lot of your change and your coin over on the Rangers players, but there's still some value to be had on the Vancouver Canucks. Andrei Kuzmenko has been great this season. There's no denying that. No question he has been a bright spark for the Canucks, which has been a very chaotic season so far. But Kuzmenko at 5,200, I see the value there. 22 points, 22 goals, 22 assists on the season as a rookie. He signs that 2-year deal, I believe, at just over $5 million with the Canucks, obviously. But yeah, he's playing great right now. You can find some value to fill out the rest of your lineup. And then Luke Shen at 3,200, very underrated. 3 goals, 18 points on the season. I believe he's only 5 points back from his career high. Obviously, It's not the offensive capabilities in Luke Schen's arsenal that you're looking for, but the peripheral stats continue to add up. He chips in now and again every so often offensively, but 64 shots, 241 hits, and 77 blocks. Those peripherals, especially the hits, continue to add up. I have him on my fantasy team. He does tremendous work as a depth defenseman. But if you do want to sub out some of those Ranger options and fill some of the Dallas Stars or Minnesota Wild players instead, as well as a few of those depth Ranger guys, I can fill that option out for you as well. Joel Eriksson Ek, he's got 8 points in his last 7 games. You can get him at a great value, I believe, at 5,200 around that price. The two top guys, if you take out Zibanejad, Chris Kreider, or Temi Panarin, throw in Kaprizov and Jason Robertson. Kaprizov has a 6-game point streak going right now. A couple of tough losses the last few games, but he's still getting points at will. Same with Jason Robertson. And 2 options. You can still have Jacob Trouba on the back end. Throw Cale Addison on the back end as well as he quarterbacks the power play. He's getting some more minutes. He looks great out there. I really like this kid. He's in the race for the Calder Trophy, but I don't think he'll win it. Nonetheless, he's still having a good season for the Minnesota Wild. I think it's going to be a tough matchup against the Stars. That's why I was leaning towards the Rangers, and even throw Ryan Hartman on the list as well. He's on the back. He's back on the top line for the Minnesota Wild with Kaprizov and Matt Zuccarello. They had some chemistry going last year. Hartman hasn't lived up to that. He got injured early on in the season, had, I believe, his hand or shoulder injury after a fight, comes back. He doesn't really get going. They shuffle him down. He gets healthy scratch. Now he's back in the lineup, and he's on the top line centering Kaprizov and Zuccarello. So you should expect a little bit more offense capabilities from Ryan Hartman moving forward. And for the goalie option, I'm going with Philip Gustafsson. Very great value at $7,500. And we've seen what he's able to do. Again, I think the Stars Wild game is going to be low scoring. That's why I'm going with Gustafsson in the crease as well as the Ranger options up front and on the blue line. You just get a ton more value. And Gustafsson has been great so far as a backup for the Minnesota Wild. So those are the DFS options for Wednesday night. 2 games on the schedule. Fairly straightforward. Rangers and Canucks is probably going to be high scoring. And after that high scoring 5-4 overtime win for the Rangers against the Flames the other day, I expect another one of those tough matchups where they're hitting and they're scoring some goals and showcasing their skill set. We are going to get to the big time bets where the money is made. I'll get flips options as well. We'll release that on Twitter tomorrow, or today before the game starts. We'll get that out at 3 o'clock. Or 6 o'clock Eastern time, 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We are going to get to big time bets where the money is made, but this episode is also brought to you by Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious and healthy treat, then you need to go right now and try some Built Bar. If you're like me, where you want to eat a little bit healthier, but don't want to compromise the taste, then man, oh man, do I ever have just the thing for you. You got to try Built right now. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they are so delicious. You won't think they're good for you, but they're actually the perfect snack before or after the gym. And what makes it so good, you might ask? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate, right up my alley. And they also come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. And now you don't even need to wait around and get a box. You don't need to order from Built.com. You still can, but now you can go to your local Walmart or local Sam's Club and get them in the pharmacy section. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today. Walk to the pharmacy section and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. Go grab some Built Bars, and you'll definitely thank me later. And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget, we are free and available on your favorite podcast platform, including YouTube. So hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. We appreciate all the love, all the support that you, our listeners, show us every single day. Thank you so much. We're almost at 800 subs, so please, if you can, just hit that sub button. We appreciate all the love. We try to show you some love in return. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't with the big time bets. Again, only 2 games on the schedule, so fairly easy night for big time bets and DFS options. My first pick of the night Easy one. I'm taking the Rangers on the money line against the Vancouver Canucks. Canucks, even when they're up, the amount of times that they've been ahead 2 or more goals and the teams come back and win. They get a tough loss the other night to the Devils. I don't need to say more. Rangers on the money line against the Canucks. Second pick of the night. I'm taking the Wild on the money line against the Dallas Stars. Might be a little bit of flip coin game here, or coin flip game. Oh, my brain's not working right now, but it might be a little bit of a coin flip game, a Wild versus Stars. The Wild had a very tough loss the other night to the Arizona Coyotes, got into some penalty trouble, couldn't get the power play going, just couldn't get going 5-on-5 as well. Stars finally cracked their overtime little drought as well. They get a 3-2 shutout win the other night. So I'm going to take the Wild on the money line. I think they're going to clean up their penalties. They're going to clean up their action, their poor play. And I see a low-scoring game. Then that's where it comes to my lock of the night. Stars and Wild under 6.5. Even if it's at 6, I'm still taking the under. I see this again being a low-scoring game, 3-2, 4-2 type of win for the Minnesota Wild, maybe even overtime. That's my lock of the night. Those are the 3 picks. Again, we'll release all 3 picks for myself and Flip tomorrow, an hour before game time. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. We're available Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. You can get it on your favorite podcast platform, including YouTube. And thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with just myself, Steele Roden. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow. Peace.